And now, ladies and gentlemen, right to your host of this House of Musicians, Barry Smith.
Hey, hello, fine listeners, and welcome to this House of Musicians radio show. We hope you enjoy the next hour with us as we do our small part to help promote musicians, bands, and venues. Gary Labar, how are you?
Hey, how is the world traveler doing?
Doing good. Out here in Canmore, Alberta at the moment, visiting our daughter. Left home, which is Ontario, 6 days ago. And tomorrow, we've been here a couple of days. Tomorrow, heading to Kelowna. So everything's going fine. It's just a breathtaking place to be.
Excellent, and more excellent. And we're very excited about our guest tonight.
Very excited about our guest, and how cool is it that she's about 4 hours away from me. Alberta's singing sweetheart, Mrs. Kym Simon. Kym, how are you tonight?
I'm great. How are you guys?
We're doing good. Thank you. Doing good. Gary's doing
Thanks
good
so
too,
much
aren't
for
you,
having
Gary?
me.
Well, hey, it's a pleasure to have you. I think I found out about you on Facebook. Somehow, Facebook's an amazing tool that we all use. It's just wonderful. And somehow, I don't even know how it happened. I just can't remember, but saw you on there and clicked on, I think, you were doing a home, what will we call it? Like you were playing your guitar and doing I think you did it on Monday nights, the hour-long little shows that you used to do with your guitar, right?
Yes, it was called Kym's Corner. Out of COVID. Produced out of COVID. What do you know? And it turned into quite something. So, yeah, it was pretty neat to find you that way.
Absolutely. And I was attracted to you because of how happy you were and witty. I got to be careful what I say here. I'm attracted, but just how nice you were and your personality and always laughing and happy and having a good time. It's just a wonderful thing to see this day and age for sure. So, Kym, let's do this. Let's talk about when you were young, how you were inspired by music, and who you used to listen to growing up.
Okay, well, it's a pretty crazy fun time that we've been having. But yeah, it did start out pretty young. My parents actually had a band, and so did my grandparents. So, I mean, it was just, I think, meant to be, right? And we'd go to my grandparents and, I started taking piano lessons from my aunt, and it was just really all in the family. So I'd go to my grandparents, they'd say, he'd say, Kimberly, go downstairs and play me a song on the piano. So we had Christmas concerts, every family gathering. We had, at Christmas time, we still do actually. And you all have to take your turn to get up and do a music number.
Right.
And then my parents played for dances for many years. They were kind of the Central Alberta dance band and, with saxophones, and my mom was the lead singer. They had all sorts of things going on. And we got to go to some of the shows. I'd fall asleep in front of the speakers on the stage. And, I blame my dad now. He says, you never listen. I said, I can't hear because you put me in front of the speakers when I was little. I don't know. but yeah, so it's been around. I grew up in a little town called Stettler, Alberta. And, it's about, 6,500 people or so. And it's kind of in the middle of nowhere, and, lots of farmers. I grew up on a farm, so total farm girl, and, had lots of cows and lots of animals and lots of music. So that's kind of where I grew up, and my parents and grandparents inspired me pretty much from day one, I would say.
Yeah, and so how young were you when you think you started singing?
Oh my gosh, I think my mom she's got cassette tapes of us singing when we were wee little. She still always said, you used to stand up in your crib and sing "O Canada," and that's all I could hear.
What a patriot. There you go.
Oh, yeah. And I've been singing "O Canada" ever since at many different events. And, so, just from wee little. And, I mean, they played a lot of different kinds of music, but mostly country we listened to. But then I had an older brother who was into AC/DC and Honeymoon Suite, Bryan Adams, some great Canadian stuff too. And, Aerosmith, one of my favorites. So we listened to, I've got a good variety of music that I was inspired by, but I think one of my, real favorites growing up was Martina McBride. And then I listened to a lot of Celine Dion, Michael Jackson, of course, was the big one when I was growing up. So I've had a lot of musical influences from a lot of different genres, and it's pretty cool that I can still sing all that stuff today with just me and my guitar.
Yeah, no kidding. And what a voice you have too. Just an amazing singing voice and great songwriter. We love your songs that you write. They're just so professional. I want to ask, so do you remember the first time you got up on stage and sang for somebody, and how old you would have been?
I remember, of course, Christmas concerts and stuff like that, but I would say the first time that, we did a lot of singing around Stettler, just at different events and stuff, but I think the first time I sang in front of a crowd and, almost fainted and thought to myself after, well, that wasn't so bad, and I should maybe look into this more, was my grade 12 graduation. I sang Hero from Mariah Carey. And after that, I remember my knees were shaking so bad and I was like sweating. And I thought to myself, why did I do this to myself on my grad day? But I just remember thinking after that, I really should get into this more. And kind of wanted to look into it more after that.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you okay? So now you remember playing live. Probably, maybe you might have just answered this. Playing live when, like, coming out on a stage in a bar or something like that. The first time you did that.
Yeah, we had country music jamborees, they were called, in Stettler, and they used to raise money for different local charities and stuff. So. Irvin Rep, he was a fiddler and he started that up. And so I do remember singing at those, and those were probably, with a full band, they were one of the first times that I had sang that I remember, having a lot of fun on stage. Also, I sang one time, I think I was 15, and I sang with Danny Hooper. Do you know who Danny Hooper is?
I don't.
He is, most Albertans will know, he's always the MC at the Big Valley Jamboree in Camrose, and he's just a funny man. Brett Kissel works with him a lot, and he got me on stage. Him and his band came in Stettler, and he got me on stage, and I got to sing a couple songs, and that was like a real big deal because they were such a big band back then, and I remember thinking, oh my gosh, this is so fun with the band. It was different than just singing with the karaoke track, because at that time, karaoke tracks were kind of the in thing. They were starting to be really popular, and so a lot of people were doing that. But, once I got with a real band, I'm like, oh my God, you can never go back. Once you play with real musicians, you got to do it always.
Oh yeah, no kidding. So, you've had a band now for quite a while then, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I had the same band for quite a few years. And I had a guitar player that played a lot of, duos with me and stuff like that. He moved to Nova Scotia. After that, we just kind of had freelancers, right? That's kind of what it's become in the country music industry anyways, just because everybody's kind of all over the place. But I've played with so many great musicians, and, I've been really lucky to have the good ones that, we just don't even have to rehearse very often. It's, or at all. You show up to some of these gigs, in front of 20,000 people, and you kind of look at each other and go, well, hope this sounds good, or hope we don't make too many mistakes. And, but I'm lucky to know folks like this gig, we're playing at. It's my first one with a full band since before COVID. So I'm a little nervous, I must say, and it's coming up this Saturday. We're doing a big festival day here in Devon. And Dan Davidson's headlining, Nice Horse is playing. And so I'm playing with Travis Switzer. He plays bass with Dallas Smith and Megan Patrick. Brendan Lyons and Ryan Davidson both play with Gord Bamford. So, they're going to be awesome. They know what they're doing. So I'm not too worried. But I told them all, I said, if I mix up or do something crazy, don't you laugh at me or I'll punch you all in the face. That's my big thing.
You know what? I think you're going to be absolutely fine. You probably play and practice enough to not worry about it too much. But I guess after being off from COVID this long too, it's definitely a little nerve-wracking just to come right back at it again.
Exactly. It's a little nerve-wracking, but all my shows did help. We did 50 some episodes, during COVID, and just to keep playing like that and keep talking to the folks. That Kym's Corner was just such a good thing for me. And, I'm hoping it put a lot of smiles on people's faces, but it sure, kept me playing, kept me looking into different kinds of music. And, it was just a really good good time. Met lots of people all over the world. It was just, COVID had a lot of negative things, but it also had a lot of positive things. And definitely Kym's Corner was one of those.
I agree 100% about the, lots of negative things and lots of positive things. I think it brought a lot of people back down to earth. And there was a lot more family time going on and cooking at home and stuff like that. I know it certainly had an impact on our family, that's for sure, and a good one at that. So now that's nice to see everything getting back to order as well, as far as people being double vaccinated and getting back out there and stuff happening again. That's nice to see. I mean, in Ontario, you still have to wear a mask, but when we got to, I believe, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, maybe not Manitoba, I think Saskatchewan and Alberta, there's hardly anybody wearing masks here. So that's kind of a positive step in the right direction. We hope, but I think it is. I think it is.
We hope it doesn't go, we hope it doesn't go backwards. But, I still, like I say, I see people wearing masks. You see people not. And I just think it's your choice right now. It's been restricted. The restrictions have been lifted. So if you still want to wear one, whatever your comfort zone is, wear one. If not, don't wear one. So that's kind of where I am with masks. It's your choice.
100%. And I'm on board with you with that. Kym, let's talk about the first recording that you ever did. Maybe where the studio was, but how that felt. I know that I record songs as well, write them at home and go in the studio. I don't really play live with band as much anymore, but definitely write songs at home and go into my friend's studio in Oshawa and record them. Let's talk about the first song that you recorded and how cool it is. Now, but even better for you than me, you've heard your music on the radio while you're driving down the road. How cool is that?
Oh, there's nothing like it. And the only thing better is hearing your daughter's music on the radio. But we can talk about that later.
We'll talk about that because I saw you promoting her new, I believe, album or EP. I saw that you're promoting that right now. And now you're telling me that she's been on the radio as well. Yes, and I heard it just a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, talk about a mama screaming for her daughter. I tell you, I was driving. I almost had to pull over because I couldn't control myself. It was great. Yeah, crying. Yep.
Yeah, it was good.
Let's talk about Go ahead, sorry.
Go ahead. I would say for my first single, you asked about, the first recording. And it's kind of a funny story. Me and my mom graduated, and then I said, I just want to go to Nashville. I just want to walk up and down Music Road, just like a lot of people, always said that they did. And I wanted to do that. So my mom was brave enough, and she come down with me, and that's literally what we did, Barry. We walked up and down Music Row, and I stopped in at Reba's building. I stopped in Alan Jackson's building, and I dropped off tapes. I hate saying tapes. It makes me sound so old. But we dropped off a bunch of tapes, and I met a fellow named Ed Russell. He was with Castle Records at the time. And, he just liked my sound. He said, you Canadians, you can sing. You can really sing for a long time because it's so dry up in Canada. And so he said, well, we talked more with him, and he said, how about we do an album? And I said, okie dokie, getting myself into something I had no idea what I was doing. But I was so lucky from the very get-go of my first recording. I had Buddy Emmons on steel guitar, who's in the Country Music Hall of Fame. I had Alan Jackson, fiddle player. I had Scotty Hawkins, who at the time was playing with Brooks and Dunn and Reba McEntire. I couldn't have had any other, better people to have a first recording with. And I was in awe the whole time. It was, and the songwriters would come in, because that first album I did, I wasn't a songwriter yet. I hadn't, the tapes that I had given them were 2 songs that I wrote, but I hadn't actually, recorded or was going to record any songs I had written. So we decided to do a 12-song album, and they were all A&R guys went around and, collected songs from people down there. I mean, there's so many songs down there, and you know how it is in Nashville. There's songs everywhere. So
Millions.
we collected a bunch of songs. I listened to a whole bunch when I came back home, and then I took a few trips back and forth and recorded a 12-song album. That was my first recording experience. And the first single, If You Stole My Heart, I remember went to number 1 on a few radio stations right away. And that was, we had to mail out the CDs and all that. And it was really exciting. It was Al Shapiro and John Condroni, who unfortunately passed away last year. But, it was a great song. People loved it. And I just, like I say, I couldn't have asked for anything more, having great songwriters and great musicians and just, you know, being able to be in Nashville at 19 years old recording. It's crazy. When I think back, I'm like, how did I do that? Yeah, I can't believe it. But yeah, I would just go back and forth, and it was just a very, I don't know, things don't happen like that anymore. It doesn't seem like they do anyways, but they probably do. But I think it was because I was 19 and it was my first time, and, you know, there's nothing quite like that first time.
Yeah, and definitely things have changed. The music business isn't the way it was like back in the day, where guys like Willie Nelson and whatnot, Charlie Pride and stuff would, you know, record an album and get a hit song, and it's just not like that anymore. I think a lot of the newer bands these days are promoting themselves. They're their own managers, they're their own drivers, and the bus drivers. Just the ones, you know, that are surviving. Even if you get a minor hit these days, it almost doesn't mean anything anymore. You have to, you know, I don't even know, you know, if there's such a thing as superstardom when it comes to bands anymore. I can't remember the last time, but, you know, maybe Nickelback was the last one. I can't remember anybody that's come out of Canada in the last 10 years that have gone to superstardom. It almost seems like those days are over.
They kind of are. And I mean, yeah, nobody does, you know, not a lot of people do full albums or even EPs. It's like one single at a time. And there's, you know, there's definitely pros to social media, and I've been one of those that have had to learn it, like all of us other musicians kind of that have been doing this for a while. And it's really difficult. It's hard for us to wrap around all the knowledge, and these young kids, they just seem to be able to do it. Like, no problem.
Well, that's
here we are. I'm sitting here trying to figure all this out, and, you know, I'm like, oh God, what do I do now?
Yeah.
So it's very different. It's like you say, it's a totally different industry. It's almost harder in a way. I mean, you know, there's no pubs, there's no venues to play at like it used to be. It used to be that the venues had a big crowd, and you'd go there and almost get discovered, or, you know, that's where you'd find your fans. Now the venues expect you to bring in the fans, and it's just really hard if you're not from that area or anything. It's almost, it has flipped to 360 almost. It feels like, anyways. But then again, you know, you're also able to get your name out there around the world where you never would have before with social media. So yeah, it's interesting to see the changes and how everything's evolved with all of that. And I just try and keep up the best I can to get my music out there. And it is really nice that people around the world can hear it.
I agree. I mean, social media is the absolute best thing. I have lots of people that complain, or not lots, but friends that complain about Facebook. Maybe somebody said something bad to them on there. But for me, it's my whole, you know, Facebook, my business, the radio show. The list just goes on of how positive it is in my life, Facebook. So social media, like you say, you get your songs out all the way around the world, is definitely a lot better now for someone halfway across the world to hear your music, as they probably wouldn't have before. So it's social media is wonderful that way.
I want to ask you, ways to make revenue too. It's good.
Yeah, there's ways to make revenue. Unfortunately for me, I might have 48 or 50 songs on Spotify, and I think I made about $23 in 5 years.
Yeah, we'll take it. Like we say, we keep being positive. We'll take what we can get when we can get it.
Hey, $23 is better than nothing.
That's right. That's a couple of beers for you in Canmore tonight.
Yeah, no kidding. Only 2 though. Things are pretty expensive here, but well worth it. It's just majestic. I want to ask you, Kym, about your songs. You said that when you went to Nashville, they gave you a pile of songs. How many did they give you, and did they let you pick the ones you wanted to do, or was there maybe, because I know the music business is a little finicky that way, the producers and whatnot and the record labels, or did they say, we want you to do this song, but you can pick the other 8 or something? How did that work?
Well, people that know me personally know I'm very stubborn, and I'm very, you know, I have my own way of doing things, and I don't know if it was luck or just that I stood my ground, I'm not sure, but I probably listened, for that first album, I probably listened to, I would say at least 100 songs. There was a lot of songs. Whew. And no, wow. They just let me pick the ones, and we would kind of get together and say, you know, like I'd come back and say, I chose these ones, and they'd say, well, this one, you know, might be good for radio because of this, or, you know, they'd kind of, but they never ever said to me, nope, you can't do that one. They never.
That's great.
They always were so good. Yeah, I always had a lot of say in everything I've ever done. And like I say, maybe that's just because I'm stubborn. I'm sure there were choices I made that weren't probably, in their eyes, maybe the best choice. But they always said at that point it was surprising being in Nashville, because I know a lot of them can, want you to create, or they want to create the artist. They want to mold them to what they want them to be. But I wasn't under a major record label or anything like that. So, as long as it spoke to me, and as long as I've always had that mindset that it still had to speak to other people. Like, yes, if the song spoke to me, that's great, but it also has to speak to the listeners. So I'm like, how would this come across to listeners, as well as can I put across the message as well to them? So I've always had that mindset. I had a good, mentor that was in the music industry 10 years before I was. And so, she kind of told me a lot about that kind of stuff, that you have to also think of the listeners, not just what you want to put out. And
right.
So I kind of took those two things and put them together. And they seem to, everybody that listens to the songs can, usually somehow connect with it. And I've really connected with all of them too. So I think it was a good mix. Yeah, I was lucky and didn't have anybody really, turn against what I was doing. They always worked with me and always helped me out and gave me their, constructive criticism, and I either took it or didn't, and that's kind of how it went.
Absolutely, and that's a good thing for you as well. To not have anybody kind of supervising what you're doing is kind of, the freedom of it is always great, because down the road you'll appreciate it more when you hear it on the radio and doing whatever. Let's go back to talking about when you first heard your song on the radio. Where were you, and what were you doing at that moment? Because that's pretty cool.
It was so cool. I was in a Red Deer gas station. I don't remember which gas station, but I know I was in Red Deer, Alberta, and I was at a gas station, and I just pulled over, which, I mean, you see a lot of people and you think, oh my God, as if they would cry that much. Like, come on now. But I totally did. Like, you're listening. I didn't cry right away. I wouldn't say I cried for that. The only time I cried was when I won the tickets to Oprah Winfrey and I got to meet her. But that's, that was a little exciting too. But
that's cool.
I remember, it was cool. I just remember sitting there going, I can't believe this actually happened. Like, I can't believe a little girl from Stettler, Alberta went to Nashville, recorded, and now it's being played on the radio. I just couldn't believe it. And from that moment on, I was like, oh my God, if I can do this, I can do anything. Like, it sounds so cliche, but
great attitude.
I really, at that moment, I was like, if I can do that, I can do anything. So, it's pretty neat to hear your song. It's almost like an out-of-body experience. You don't actually think it's you. Because, for one, if you ask most singers, they don't sound the same as they do in their head, right? You never sound the same. So you're like, is that really me? I'm not sure. I think it is. I think I recorded that song. Yeah, and then you're just kind of like, I can't believe it. And you're just happy. You're just really happy that people liked it, and we're kind of, being behind you, the radio programmers, and wanting to play it. So I remember I was very thankful at the time, and thought I could conquer the world.
Yep, and you still can, and you still will. Let's talk about, now that we're talking about songs on the radio. Let's talk about your daughter's album and your daughter's songs that you've heard on the radio. Let's talk about where people can get a hold of her stuff and see her online and whatnot.
Yeah, she put out her first debut single. It's called "Hate It," but my joke is all the time, you won't hate it. I know, corny. That's me. I'm a corny person, but and that's Martina. She always calls me that. But her name's Martina Dawn, and I mean, she's all over the same as all of us. Spotify, Apple Music, all of those. You can check her out on Instagram, Facebook. She recorded that. She's 16. She just turned 17 here a bit ago, so very young, but I mean, hardworking. And we worked with Travis Switzer producing that. He produced my couple of singles, and we could not have asked for a better team behind her. We could not have asked for better songs. That song was written by Jason Massey and Hannah Ellis, who are down in Nashville, and they're big songwriters. Jason Massey actually produced Kelsey Ballerini's albums. So we couldn't have asked for a better song to start her career. She's pretty excited about it, and it's doing really well.
Glad to hear that. That's awesome. And so I'm assuming she grew up I mean, like look at how wonderful her mother can sing. I'm sure she grew up listening to you sing, and that just gets passed down to generations and generations. I'm sure. How young was she when she started singing and playing?
She was 5 years old when she started performing really in front of crowds. So I've been teaching music for the last 12 years. I started a music school. And so she was in that music school, and we would have jam nights and stuff like that. And so, yeah, she started really singing at 5. And then she did her first kind of bigger performances. She started learning the guitar at 12. And she'd only been playing for 2 months. And she went into the K-Days in Edmonton. It's a big, festival here in Edmonton. And she went into the K-Days contest at 12 years old and got into the finals and did so well. And by playing and singing, she'd only been playing for, 2 months or something. And she just one day just looked at me and said, Mom, she'd taken a little bit of guitar, but she would cry. It hurt her fingers. She didn't like it. And then all of a sudden, when she was 12, she just looked at me and said, Mom, I want to play the guitar. And then she just, like I said, 2 months later, boom, she was playing full songs and was out on stage. And I think that it just kind of hit her that she wanted to do that. So, it's interesting to see in only 5 years. I mean, she did Country Thunder in Calgary a couple of years ago with no rehearsal with the band and got up there and did her thing. And at 15 years old, and it just blows me away, these young people, how talented they are. But, a lot of people forget that because they're young, they think, they have everything handed to them. No, she has worked her butt off. She, of course, had guidance from me and, like any other parent would, do anything they can for them. But these young people, you forget, they don't have the same experience in life as we do. And you think they're so young and all the stuff that they can handle. And she's done really well at handling a lot of pressure, stuff like that. So I give it up to the young folks that are out there giving it their all at that young of an age.
Absolutely. And you know what? We'll follow Dawn's progress, and one day we'll have her on the show. So that would be amazing.
Oh, Martina would love that. You just let us know. She'll be on.
Sorry, did I say Dawn? Or Martina?
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, Martina Dawn. Yeah, you got
Martina
it.
Dawn. There you go. My apologies. Let's do this, Kym. Let's play one of your songs, because we're going to play 2 songs this evening, and then we'll come back and talk about it. How does that sound?
Sounds good. That sounds
okay. That's awesome. We're honored to have you on the show. It's happy for you to be here. Folks, I have Kym Simon, Alberta sweetheart, on the show here with me this evening, and we're going to listen to her song Lonely together on this House of Musicians radio show right here on Reality Radio 101.
Walking away in the cold, hard rain. 5 months together, escapes down the drain. Somewhere inside I thought you could be the one. Now I'm all alone. We're done. Got my phone from my pocket and scroll through my list, checking all of my options for someone I missed. Your name rolls across the screen, got a smile on my face. Do I dare call your number? Yeah, I'll call your number. You answer the phone, thought you'd wanna be alone, but I could tell by your tone, you just don't want me. It's a cold, dark night, being on your own ain't right, but I think you just might wanna be lonely. As we ended the call, despite all my foolish hopes, you'd no interest at all. Moving on down the street, thinking, oh, what should I do? I say to myself, yeah, I'm over you. But then you call my number, yeah, I see your number. I answered the phone, thought you'd wanna be alone, but I could tell by your tone, hey, you still want me. It's a cold, dark night, being on your own ain't right. I think you just might
Welcome back, folks. I'm talking with Kym Simon on tonight's program, and I want to ask you, Kym, about Lonely Together, how all that came to be, and maybe where you recorded it.
Yeah, that one is actually, it's interesting because I've had that song written, I think we wrote it back in 2017, I believe, but it was one by producer when we started working together. We actually went for coffee in December of 2019. And he had kind of mentioned that he wanted to get into more producing. And I said, well, I want to do some more music. So if you want to use me as a guinea pig, I'll use you back as a guinea pig. And that's how it started with Travis Switzer. So, we started listening to songs, and he just really liked that song. He's like, that's just got a good vibe to it. And I love that song. And, I've always liked it too, but I wasn't sure if it was like, real country, if country radio would play that one or not. It was kind of questionable in my mind, but I thought, you know what, he's going to make it. He's going to do a good job of it. And, just that steel guitar in there and, stuff like that. It's just so haunting. I love it. And so it was interesting because that's when COVID hit, was when we were recording that. And, it came out then after in October of 2020. And it felt like a great song to put out after a while of, people being quite lonely, but together. There were people that, I don't even know how you describe it sometimes. Some of them were together, but they were lonely. They didn't want to be together. We had couples that were, having to stay in the same house, that were having issues that didn't want to. You know what I mean? I mean, COVID was crazy with everything. So I thought, wow, it's a good time for people to be questioning their relationships and, stuff like that. There was just a lot going on at the time. So I think it, connected with a lot of people that way, just with COVID happening. And I didn't mean it for it to come out at that time, but just one of those relationship songs that makes you think. You're kind of, some people want to be, and then nope, maybe they don't want to be together, but they do. It's just kind of, it was fitting for the timing that it come out during COVID.
It sure was. And speaking of relationships and COVID, it sure does. The people that are still together sure does show their strength of relationships to stay together. I'm sure there was a lot of people that got separated.
No, yeah, I know. If you could stay home during a pandemic, like we've been married 20 years next May, and I'm like, if we can get through that, dang, we can conquer anything, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I do follow your stuff on Facebook, and it looks like you guys have a happy little house there in Alberta, and good for you. I want to talk to you about back in 2008. We'll go back and talk about Nashville for a minute. You were the winner of Nashville's 2008 Music City Songwriters Competition with your hit single, Easy Way Out. I mean, how cool was that? And it was also featured live on Great American Country as well as XM Satellite Radio. How cool is that?
Oh, that was cool. And I was so nervous. Oh, my God. I remember I was just so nervous. Like, I had performed in Nashville before, but I had never performed on Great American Country. And everybody, before I went down, they're like, you're performing on the biggest TV station for country music of all of North America, right? And I'm like, don't tell me that. Like,
cool.
I'm already nervous enough, And but funny enough, oddly enough, I'm sitting there in the green room, and I'm getting my makeup and everything done, and I hear this loud voice coming in, and he's, saying, hi, everybody. And it was just loud. That's all I can describe it as.
Right. And
everybody was just really happy. And I'm sitting, like I say, in the green room, just kind of figuring everything out after the makeup and trying to make sure I'm calm and everything. And it was Luke Bryan that walks in. And cool. He was the one that was so loud. Yeah. And I was like, oh, my goodness, who is this person? And he talked to me for, we must have sat there and chatted for, I don't know, half an hour at least before I had to go on. He was in a different studio doing some beer commercials and stuff, but he wasn't big quite, people had heard of him up in Canada, but not like he is now, of course. And so he was just really easy to chat with and, funny, and we were laughing, and I totally was, really calm then going into the studio recording. So I'm always like, wow, that was just chance meeting him, and what a great guy, and just so easy to talk to, and made it really easy for me to calm down and perform, for crying out loud, right?
Yeah, sure. And but what an accomplishment to win at a songwriters competition, because that's really the bread and butter. I think nowadays for a lot of musicians or songwriters is the actual songwriting itself. So it's quite an accomplishment. It's one thing to get to be on a hit Billboard chart list, but it's another thing to win an award for songwriting. That's incredible. Good for you.
Yeah, and it's funny because I tell a lot of people this. When people ask me what I do for a living, I usually say recording artist. Songwriter is not the first thing that comes to mind. I've never thought of myself as a full-on songwriter, which is weird. I've always been more, I love performing, and that's just always been my thing. So the songwriting thing I'm a little more modest about, because it's just one of those things I love doing, but I don't ever compare myself to, the big guys out there, but I love it, and I'm glad it works out, and I'm glad people like the songs I write.
Yeah, good for you. And do you write often?
No, it's funny. I kind of only write when there's a purpose. Like if I all of a sudden think, it's time for me to do another project, then I will sit and write. Or if somebody comes to me and says, hey, I have a concept or a charity that we want to write a song for, or for instance, You Got This, it came out of our town here in Devon. We're promoting mental health and wellness, and so they asked me to write a song about it. So if there's a purpose, or I know I'm going to be recording, that makes me write more. I'm kind of like an Elton John. I know he said one time, him and his writing partner, they wrote like the one album in like 17 days before they recorded. So it's, I don't write all the time, just kind of when it comes to me, or like I say, it'll come more when I have a purpose.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. Good for you. And let me just ask you quickly about your songwriting process. Do you, like for me, I'll pick up a guitar, play a couple of riffs on it, and hack around for 20 minutes, and then, record that on my phone, and maybe come back to it 2 weeks later or a month later and turn it in, and then add the lyrics to usually the riffs. I mean, that's not always how it happens. Sometimes I'm working on a song right now. I have the lyrics first, and I don't have any melody or music to it. But how about you? What's your writing process?
I would say most of the time it all seems to come at once. I'll have maybe a little hook line, and then everything comes around that. I definitely am more of a the music part. I like writing more than the lyrics. So it helps to have a good lyricist to write with. I just feel like I'm stronger with the music. But when I'm writing by myself, it usually comes all at once. And when it does, it's fast. It'll come to me either in the shower or in the bathroom. The bathroom seems to be my because it's the only place nobody can, the kids don't come in if I can lock the door. I'm like, I've actually got some silence. I know my single, My Priority, I wrote that in 10 minutes in the bathroom. Done. Oh, because
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to say, nobody was bothering me, and it just come all at once. And that was probably the easiest song I've ever written, and just in like one of those places that was quiet, and I could just think fully and clear. Yeah.
I was going to say, the kids are like, where did mom go? Well, she's been in the washroom for 2 hours. Writing a song.
It happens. Oh, Barry, you know it. With kids, it happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about this. You have shared the stage with Patricia Conroy, George Canyon, Aaron Pritchett, Doc Walker, Charlie Major, who's amazing, Wendell Ferguson, Glass Tiger. We've had Sam Reed on the show, and Gord Bamford. Talk to me about those experiences.
Oh, it's always fun. And, out of those names, I would have to say Aaron Pritchett is, and I mean, most people will tell you, Aaron Pritchett has got to be one of the nicest guys on the planet. And when you're doing a show with him, like, he never forgets your name. He always is just so lovely. And a lot of those artists are. They're just, I mean, you're kind of nervous around them and everything, but really they treat you like you're the same. So it's just always been a good time. I've always been lucky to be able to open for people like that and be around people like that. George Canyon is another one. Oh, just a really super nice guy, and makes you feel at home. And like I say, I've always been really lucky to be around such great, talented people. So Glass Tiger too. That was a fun time.
Yeah, well,
I gotta say they're wild fun. Yeah.
Okay, tell me who that was again.
Last Tiger, yeah.
Oh, God. Okay, tell me about that story, like about that show.
Well, they did. I mean, Alan Free, like he didn't really want to talk to anybody. He was kind of in his motorhome doing his thing, and but he did come out and say hi. But it's always fun to get your performance over with, and then just be able to watch them and do their thing. And you always learn from watching them, and they were fun to learn from, because of course it was a lot of the shows I do are country, so it was nice to be a part of a rock show and just, I mean, man, they just let her go in those songs. They're just iconic songs. So to be able to sing along with them and say you opened for somebody like that, pretty cool.
Yeah, and you know what? It's always lovely to hear stories about people who, have been successful in the music business that are very humble. Those are always the best stories that you could possibly hear. Oh,
yeah, and we get a lot of that for sure in country music. I've yet to meet too many divas. Most people are pretty down to earth and remember where they came from, so it's nice.
Yeah, that's what country music's about. No question about it.
Mm-hmm.
I actually grew up on it too. My dad was a big country fan. I probably listened to that from when I was a baby. We're talking Charlie Pride, Johnny Cash, Merle Haggard, George Jones, probably up till I experienced Led Zeppelin when I was like 15 or something. And then I kind of took the rock path, but always had country in the back of my heart as well, and still write country songs to this day. So it really is a down to earth community. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. I'll have to listen to those songs.
Yeah,
we should write together, one of the two.
I would do that. That'd be a lot of fun. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we play? I know you have something new coming up here, so why don't we play a song called High, High, and we'll come back and talk about what the song is about and why you wrote it. How does that sound?
That sounds great. You guys are, if not one of the first to hear it.
Oh, that's amazing. That's great. So we're going to debut your song this evening on this House of Musicians program. Folks, I have Kym Simon on the show. We're going to hear her new song debuting right here on this House of Musicians radio show on Reality Radio 101.
Was the best night of my life. I was on top of the world. Nothing could bring me down. But tonight, all I can do is cry. I've been lonely for someone. You were here, but now you're gone. Looking for cheap fun. But no regret. Yeah, I'll never forget how your touch was so unreal, and the way you made me feel. I was high on life, just a fool. won't weigh me down too long, and then I'll get high, high.
Hey, welcome back, fine listener. I have Alberta's sweetheart, Kym Simon, on the show this evening. Kym, what a lovely song. Your voice is just incredible voice, incredible harmonies. You just have an amazing singing voice. And I want to talk about High, this new song that you have.
Thanks, Barry. Oh, Barry, you just make a girl smile.
Well, you have a great voice. There's no doubt about it.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, no, Hi, I'm pretty excited about that. It was great to hear it on the airwaves the first time. So I'm glad you guys are the first to hear it. It'll be out Friday on all platforms. So that's pretty exciting. But I kind of am calling it the summer loving song. It's a little late in the summer, but we still got some summer left. And it's just one of those songs that me and co-writer Joanne Jansen, my friend Joanne, we wrote one day. We were sitting there, you know, and a lot of times you're always trying to write songs for radio that are a little more upbeat and, you know, party songs that people want to party to. And that day, me and her just both felt like just writing a love ballad. And so that's kind of what came out of that. Sometimes, you know, when you have songwriting sessions, you don't remember how it became. And that's one of those songs I just know that we both wanted a love song. And so I think we were kind of talking about how we met our husbands possibly. And, you know, it was just by chance. And, you know, sometimes those magical first nights make it and sometimes they don't. And so that's one of those songs that's kind of open-ended. You don't know if they're going to stay together or not, but it was just a good love song for the time that they were together. So.
Absolutely. And was there wine involved in the writing with you and your friend?
Well, you know, Barry, there could be a bit of rum. I'm not much of a wine drinker. I'm trying. I tried some red wine. I drank a full cup of red wine the other night. But usually I'm like a paralyzer or rum girl. So there could have been a couple of those involved.
Right. Well, you're an absolute trooper, rum girl. There you go. Kym, let me ask you this. What do you think the highlight of your career has been so far? I'm sure you've had many, but one that stands out, a fond memory that will be with you forever.
Well, I would have to, can I come back to Oprah? I mean,
yes, you can.
It's not really, I don't know if I'd call it a career highlight. I've had so many, like you say, you know, I've won awards. I've done lots of videos that people have watched and passed along, and we've had lots of good times filming those. Lots of great live shows.
And hearing your daughter on the radio, that's a highlight.
Hearing my daughter on the radio. I really have been lucky in this industry. I've worked really hard, like we all do. And so I've just really been thankful for all those moments that have been just, you know, unimaginable. I just never thought as a little girl growing up, this is where my life would be. And as a young girl growing up, I got to watch Oprah Winfrey every day. I was such a fan of hers. And because of my career, being in music and then also teaching, I got nominated by another person in Devon here that for inspiring young youth, especially young girls. I've always, you know, worked with our youth, more females, but lots of males too, just on confidence and stuff like that. I've always wanted, you know, young girls to grow up and have confidence. And it's always just been a passion of mine to empower them and inspire them. So getting to, you know, meet Oprah Winfrey because people recognized that, you know, I did that kind of work was just, it has to be the highlight of one of the highlights of my life. And I mean, that would be because of my career. I got to meet her and working in the music industry with younger artists that are coming up. It's just, when I met her, I honestly felt like I could sit and have coffee with her every day. She was just so, I don't even know how you explain it. She felt like, you know, your grandma. I don't want to say it, but she just
down to earth.
Yeah, she just had that way about her when she spoke, the way she gave a hug, you know, she was just so down to earth. You would not know that she's one of the most famous people in the world. So that would be one of my career highlights. And of course, just life highlights, and having my 2 children, because they make me keep doing what I love to do. And if I'm having a bad day or whatever, I think I'm not doing the best in the music industry, or you think you're failing, because we all have those moments. I look at my kids and I think, well, I can't not keep going, or can't reach for the the stars and go for my goals and achieve goals, because I have to show that to my kids. And that's just kind of always what I've had in the back of my mind, and that's why I do what I do.
Absolutely. And that goes for a lot of people, including myself, is some days you might feel like you're a bit down, but you always know that you have to move forward and be strong for your children. So that's a great thing that you just said there. This is one of my favorite questions that I like to ask all the artists that come on the show. My favorite part of the show. Tell me something. Yes. It's going to put you on the spot a little bit, but tell me. All right. Something crazy that's happened to you on a stage, on a bus, I don't know, something crazy musically that has happened to you.
Oh my gosh, I would have to say every week on Kym's Corner, something crazy happened to me. and of course, and we always say crazy with a K, right? Everything I do now is, we have a group on Facebook. If you want to join it, it's called Kym's Crazies. And Crazies with a K, and everything. I call you guys all my crazies. We go through a lot of things that they do crazy, but I think every week on Kym's Corner, there had to have been something crazy on there. Like, I would fall over, I would trip on something would fall over, I'd spill a drink,
right.
The camera would go off, or it didn't go off, and I thought it was off, or you're trying to turn it off and it couldn't, so people were seeing up my nostrils and watching me laugh. Because I couldn't turn the damn camera off. And then, but on a stage, I do remember falling off the back of the stage at one of the shows. It was an Alouette show. I remember, and Alouette was skincare, and they hired me to sing some songs. And I don't know what the heck I was doing, but I just was grooving, moving and shaking like I thought I was awesome. And I moved and shaked right off the back of the damn stage. That was fun. But I mean, I got up without any kind of, I don't even know if, some people, I'm sure everybody noticed. What am I saying? I'm sure everybody noticed.
Nobody said anything, but they noticed. Nobody
noticed. Nobody said anything. And then one other one was, I went to a gig. I'll never forget. It was an oil wives convention, and these women were crazy at like 9 a.m. in the morning. They were ready to have a good time, and I thought, now why would they want somebody like me to come sing to them? But I had no voice. I had lost my voice. I don't know why. I can't remember. And I actually had to admit, because I never admit, us musicians, we never admit when we're sick. So that day, I was like, nope, I'm not going to admit that I'm sick, but I had like literally no voice. And so I sang the whole show, and I actually had to admit in the middle of the show, I'm like, dude, I am so sorry. I have no voice. I can't sing. And I remember looking at my manager going like, what am I going to do? And he's like, just keep trying to sing. Well, I sold more, at the time we were selling CDs. I sold more CDs at that show, because nobody really knew what I sounded like, and they wanted to really hear what I sounded like. So, blessing in disguise. In all the crazy, there's always something good.
Absolutely. And that's what you have to do at every show from now on. Don't sing. You'll sell a lot of CDs.
Right?
There you go.
Yeah.
Well,
so it's been fun, and it has been crazy for sure.
Good for you. And there's a segment of the show I like to do. Kym, by the way, folks, Kym spells her name Kym, Simon, Simon. You can certainly find her anywhere online. Go check her out and purchase some of her songs. She's just an amazing singer and songwriter. Kym, there's a segment of the show I like to do called, Well, Gary LaBar, what do you think?
What do I think? Let me tell you this. I know Dolly Parton has copied Kym's vocals. That's all there is to it. So anyone who comes across...
That's exactly what happened, Gary.
That's right. So anyone that comes across says, Kym, you remind me of Dolly Parton. Say, no. No, your voice is amazing. It is a cross between old country and modern country. And what I love is the production value of the songs. I mean, the technical end of it, listening to it. They're put together well. They're mixed amazing. You sound fantastic. And as Barry said, your lead vocal and the harmonies, it's amazing. So, you know what? I'm wishing you the best now that COVID is kind of sort of, we don't know where it's going, good, bad, or indifferent, but I hope you can get out there, gig a lot, and really, really get your name up there in the industry. Good luck to you.
Well, thank you, guys. You guys are so sweet. Like I say, you guys know how to make a woman's day. Really? Well done. Well done.
Well, make us some cookies. Yeah, you could.
Yeah.
Make us.
No, if anybody knows me like they do, they know I do not cook. You do not want me to make you cookies.
Okay.
But I will have a couple rums with you. Let's do that.
That would be great.
Rum. Sure. There you go. We'll have a rum. That'd be awesome.
Absolutely.
Kym, what can I say?
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much for doing our show, Kym. We're going to keep following your progress. I want to have you back on the show down the road. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. I love how cheery and happy you are and positive all the time, and that's what what the world needs. So thank you so much for being on the show, and I'll look forward to following your progress and talking soon.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you on down the road somewhere. I hope to visit you in Ontario.
If you ever do, give us a ring, and you can certainly come by, and we'll go for a rum. There you go.
That'd be perfect. Perfect.
There you go. Thank you, Kym. And to the listener, I say, always dance and sing, and let your music bring your soul to the surface for all the world to see. Until next time, have a shuffle your feet kind of week, and good night. You've been listening to this House of Musicians radio show on Reality Radio 101.